Hey folks, Quilly18 here, and welcome to a special Sunday live stream where we're doing some programming today. I had hoped, originally, to do Ludum Dare next weekend, but I'm going to be away, so instead we're doing programming this weekend. But what I was planning on doing for Ludum Dare is pretty much what we're going to be doing today, although, I mean, today we're going to be doing it in tutorial form and sort of leaving it as a framework for more stuff. But, yeah. Weird to stream an extra day here. Don't know what that's going to do. Hopefully my voice will hold on. We'll see how it goes. I mean, programming streams tend to be more intense in the brain, but sometimes less intense in other ways. So we'll see. Ever thought about doing a Twitch extension, put game controls in viewers' browsers? I mean, well, first, what we're going to do today is interact with Twitch chat as a chatbot. But that's sort of step one to doing that sort of thing. I haven't looked into what's involved in doing the extension where it's sort of like an overlay on the actual like stream itself where you can click on it and stuff. But yeah, one thing I was surprised about right away is I am working on this being an overlay in OBS, and I couldn't believe actually how trivially easy it was. This little test game that I've got set up, which is also running in, so this window over here. If you set your camera so that the background has like alpha set to 0, and in the OBS you say allow transparency, then when you capture it, you get this. And then, so now all of a sudden, so anything we make in a Unity app can show up as a semi-transparent or a transparent overlay in OBS, which, yeah, I was like, oh, well, that's easy. Okay, I guess I don't really have to make a tutorial video for that, or if I do, it's going to be about 45 seconds long, which is interesting. But the big thing we're going to do today is actually interact with Twitch chat. We're going to write some code that'll let a Unity app connect to the Twitch servers, the Twitch chat servers, and read chat, and then we'll do something with it. Yeah, because I keep talking about like all these games I want to have Twitch interaction with, and like, and I keep saying, I don't think it's very hard. And at some point I'm like, well, I guess I better put my my coding fingers where my mouth is, or something like that. Cardi, thank you. I've been wanting to get into programming, but it seems so overwhelming. Any tips on how to start? That's a great question. I used to have some website recommendations and book recommendations and stuff. I don't know how many of them are up to date or not. There are a lot of great places to start. I tend to, and I think I still kind of like this idea. I kind of like recommend starting with like maybe like JavaScript or something like that. Because what I like about coding in JavaScript is, you know, you just slap it into your browser and you see results right away. There's no recompiling or anything like that. The browser's obviously already set up to be able to quickly show visuals and interact with things. I still think that's a spiffy way to do it. And as it turns out, there's actually a lot of work that you can get doing JavaScript coding as well, whether that's server-side stuff with Node or client-side stuff in the browser, or plenty of, a lot of games use a JavaScript parser, although Lua seems to be more common, or even Python, and maybe Python would even be a better place to start for things, but I really don't know Python, so unfortunately I can't really go around recommending that sort of thing. 24-hour Harvard course just came out on YouTube. Yeah, one of the cool things, I know like MIT has a lot of these free courses as well that you can just like watch online, which is really neat. So yeah, unfortunately I don't have a good set of collection of helpful links anymore, which does make me sad. Maybe I can assemble something and like post it on the Discord, or I'll tweet it later or something like that. I don't know. You recommend Monty Pythons? Nice. Twitch chat interaction is a risk. Wait, why am I still typing? Yeah. Okay. So I have I've started a file here in our project just because I knew I wanted to type a whole bunch of comments ahead of time that would be maybe annoying to see me type on screen. So we're going to be making a library that I'm calling Quill's Awesome Chat. just because. In here, I do have a link to the actual Twitch dev site that's got all the references to how their chat server works, as well as I have looked, there's this great little Unity Twitch sort of library that you could really use today, made by Alison Liam here on GitHub, which I have used as a reference for this work as well, which is going to be, they did some nice little work. The big thing is the information that we're going to get from Twitch is going to come to us in a text form that has to be parsed. Now, the Twitch development website does have an example parser to process that text string. It's written in JavaScript, and Alison Lim here, they just ported the Twitch example to C#, which is just going to save us a little bit of work to do that, because the parser thing is it's annoying to put together. So it'll be nice to have a little bit of a something to accelerate on that. It's helpful to have a specific goal, small utility application calculator, a game, even tic-tac-toe. Yeah, one of the things I always recommend for people, well, this is specifically advice for people who want to start trying to learn how to program a game, is I always say what you should do as your first project, or maybe your first few projects, is actually try to clone an existing game. And the reason I always say that is because then you don't have to do the game design step, because you might not know game design. The nice thing about cloning an existing game, and start simple, Pong, tic-tac-toe, Pac-Man, something like that, is you know how it's supposed to work. You know it's supposed to work, so then you're left with working on the, well, let's make it work like that step. Rather than get halfway through things, realize, oh, you know what, this game design is stupid and doesn't work, and having to read it. So just try to copy something very simple as your starter projects, possibly. One of my sons been in your studies making a Pac-Man clone. Yeah, actually, the thing is, Pac-Man's got some surprisingly tricksy little things. To get the movement in the maze to feel quite right, it's not as immediately obvious as it seems, which is actually another interesting thing. You know how it's supposed to go, and so you do a sort of a naive implementation. You're like, you know, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right. Why is that? And then you sort of get in the nitty-gritty, but at least you know what the goal is, which is really helpful. Breakout clone, yeah, that's another popular starter thing, which is great for teaching. You make sure you got your 2D stuff down, a little bit of quasi-physics. You don't need real physics for it. Although these days, I would probably make my breakout clone just using box 2D, because it's super simple. And I mean, that's integrated into Unity as well if you're doing it that way. Mm-hmm. Oh, you got some radishes posted in Discord, huh? I'm just checking. I've got some actual direct messages here. Boop, boop, boop. Da, da, da. Wait, where's my Discord? There. Oh, you got a little planter box. Nice. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to get started. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what we got. So, very simple little project. The Texas Unity here is just so that I could show the overlay. Actually, originally I had a little script on this to cause it to rotate around on the OBS overlay, which, I mean, looked stupid, but it was also very satisfying to see like motion on OBS like that, which is really cool. But the project is basically this. So far, I've got a dummy game object called the Quack Connection Manager. That's our Quill Awesome Chat Connection Manager, which has a script attached to it, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And again, I've done a little bit of pre-typing in here, mostly because I knew I was going to be writing a lot of comments. So let's look at this. We are going to call our first class Connection Manager. It's going to manage our connection to Twitch, make sure to Twitch chat, make sure we keep connected to that. Now, the interesting thing with Twitch chat is it's implemented as an IRC server. IRC stands for Internet Relay Chat, and back in the day, that's where all the cool kids did all of their talking. It was a great ecosystem, very, very lawless, Wild West kind of place. It was great. You could always find people's IP. You could just send them a little ping of death and crash their copy of Windows 3.11. Ah, the good old days. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to do that. So this thing's job is to connect to the IRC client and to read messages from chat, and then not do anything with them. But what we're going to do is we're going to have an event, a listener that will fire off. When we do get some information from Twitch chat, it'll call some other function that our program is actually going to be doing things with it. Slaps Quilly Team with a trout. There you go. There you go. So first thing you're going to do for your chatbot app is you have to register an application on Twitch. So there's a link over here. I mean, again, this will be available on the GitHub. And of course, you can just Google these things for registering your Twitch application. You have to go and create one in there. I created an application called Quill's Awesome Chat. And all it basically does is give you a client ID. Now, as far as I know, this client ID is public because the idea is when your users want to use your bot connection to Twitch chat, what they're doing is they're going to Twitch, they're clicking on your the application, like they're logging into Twitch, clicking on your application and say, yep, I want to go ahead and interact with this thing. So that ID is public information. I didn't want to put it in here because what I was worried is people would just go and use this code as is, and then one day I'm going to go and delete my application, my registered application on Twitch, and people's programs are going to break. So make sure to go and register your own and punch in the code over there. You should be okay. Now, the big thing is you will be logging into the Twitch chat as a user with your program, separate from the application registration itself. Your program is going to act as a regular Twitch user in Twitch chat. Now, technically, if all you're caring about is reading Twitch chat, you can do an anonymous login, and so some of this stuff can be avoided. But we're going to assume that maybe at some point our bot wants to be able to send messages to Twitch chat, and say something like, "Hey, there's a vote happening. Type !vote 1, 2, or 3 or whatever to vote in whatever it is." So if you want your bot to be able to type into chat, it has to log in. Now, you can create. So this is totally separate from the application ID. You can have your bot, like what we're sort of creating here is a chat bot, sort of. You can have this bot just act as you. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to have it use my username in here, and that's it. I decided not to make a different Twitch account for the bot, but I could have made Quillbot and then have Quillbot hang out and chat. But it wasn't important for this because, again, for my we're basically just going to do read only here, not really care about anything else. But anyway, what happens is you have to log into Twitch and you get this access token. Now, this token is secret. Anyone who has access to this access token theoretically could use this to act as you in the Twitch chat. So you don't want this to leak. And one of the things that might be a gotcha, right? Let's say you're making a program more or less just for yourself. And you decide to hard code in your access token. Even if you don't share your code, people can get it because executables, you can rip strings out of EXEs. It's trivially easy. So even if all you do is share the .exe with your access token in it, people can rip it out and then pretend to be you on Twitch in the context of this one application. It's still going to be a fairly limited context, but that might be a little bit annoying. So, we're not... For shame for not using VS Code. The reason I'm not is because I am running, as much as possible, everything a sort of vanilla default install for Unity. Always makes it better for tutorials. We ran on mono-develop for so long, even after it was really past its prime and everyone had moved on to either Visual Studio or VS Code, just because mono-develop with the default install with Unity and it made it better for tutorials. But, oh, it got painful after a while. So here's some instructions on how you can actually get the secret token for the access. There's actually 3 different ways you can authorize your application or your users logging in to your Twitch, your registered Twitch application. There's 3 different ways to do it. 2 of them kind of require that you have your own little server program that can hold some secret information that really should not be made public. Because we are not setting up a little server page, and because theoretically this code and this executable will maybe get shared with other users, we are using the login method called implicit grant flow, which isn't very sophisticated, but is very easy to do. The big thing is, at some point, we're going to get this access token done and done. We've got some other little bookkeeping parameters I'm putting in here. What username we're going to show up as in the Twitch chat. This is going to be the same as the name of the account that you authorized with using this link over here. And then what channel your bot should join, which in this case, it's going to be the Quill18 channel. Again, I could have made a Quill18 bot account and then done everything like that, but I'd still be joining Quill18. There you go. Our actual network connections, we're going to have a TCP client connection over here, and then we're going to have the ability to read and write to here. Even if we're not writing a bot that's really going to be interacting in chat, we actually still have to send some messages to the server. Well, first of all, we have to send messages including our login information. The other thing is sometimes the server will ping us to make sure the connection is still alive, and we have to respond to that. we are going to keep track of what our connection state is. Right now, I'm just defining these as private. Almost certainly these are going to become public, or, you know, at least with a public getter over here, so that other pieces of my code can read this. But we're going to just default everything to private, and then we'll make public as we need to. And then also, if we are sending messages, Twitch has a rate limit on how quickly you can send messages. This is true for all users. The rate limit does depend a little bit on what kind of user you are. There's a few different ways to change these. If you are running a really big, a massive bot that's used in lots of channels, like if you're a MooBot or whatever, you can actually email Twitch and say, listen, my bot is used in a million different channels. We got to be able to send, you know, messages kind of at an unlimited rate and whatever. So we're gonna do that. These settings are fairly conservative here. Every 30 seconds, we send no more than 15 lines of code, which is, I mean, it's still typing once every 2 seconds. I don't think this will overflow things. I think I was looking at the numbers and this is okay. I think we can actually send 20 every 30 seconds before getting throttled. So we'll take a look at that. And then we'll talk about the singleton thing in just a sec. So those are some bookkeeping variables we're going to be working with. Don't worry if you didn't follow that, because we're going to be talking about all those things again in just a second. Now, because I didn't want to write my super secret access token on the stream or include it in my file that I'm going to be uploading to GitHub, what I did is I had entered my super secret information in here once. I started the program once and then saved those values to the player prefs, and then I just removed it, and now I'm loading it from the player prefs. This is something you can do. So this is the standard, the easiest way to save any information in Unity. It's not really the preferred way to do save files, but it's a great way to save preferences and things like that. You know, like what resolution, anti-aliasing off or not, you know, what volume setting. You can save those in the player prefs. They get stored somewhere, I think in user data /remote/ the company name that you have to set in your build, etc., etc. But anyway, the whole thing is, long story short, my client ID and access token are now set. That was all just prep work, lots of talking, tons of comments in here. If you didn't follow what was going on, tried to make it as explicit as possible. Now we're going to start doing some actual work over here. Yeah, app data. Of the incredibly thorough code commenting, love to see it, hate to have to do it myself. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate this stuff when I'm looking at other people's codes, right? And again, what we're aiming for here is tutorial level stuff. A lot of things that we tend to do when I do my programming here, sometimes there's certain things we can write in a single line, and I choose to write in like 3 lines just because it's more explicit, more clear. You know, there's always someone who's like, when I do like, if foo equals true, and people are like, but why? You don't have to do that. I'm like, yeah, but doesn't it make it a little easier to read, a little more easy to follow? You know, like they really get pissed off at that. But I kind of like that level of explicitness, you know? Anyway, so let's think about the process that we're going to be doing over here. We're going to assume we're going to connect to Twitch chat immediately with this particular thing. So we could write the connection code here in start. But of course, it is better to have our functions be sort of single-minded and focused. So let's assume we're going to have some function. Well, first of all, that's going to do some setup beyond this. This is not real setup. We're going to have some function to initialize. Why? Why doesn't it just trust me that I'm typing in a function name that I want to have in here? That's going to initialize various parameters that we are going to use some of. And then we're going to have some sort of function called connect. I'm going to have to beat the shit out of Visual Studio here. How do I get it to trust me? Is there like, can I hit like a different key? Can I hit Shift Enter or something to just like use as is and don't try to autocomplete? Maybe if I make it explicitly private, let's try. Let's delete this. If I say private void connect, I already disabled the thing to like autocomplete braces and things and quotes. Those were the worst. I would go string foo equals this, and it would always put in the extra quote, and then I was doing it out of muscle memory. I'm like, no, just let me do it. Anyway, void disconnect. So like, I want to type a parentheses over here, and it's going to do this. No, just use Notepad. Actually, I really like typing in Sublime Text, but we're going to do this. Try escape. I guess that's true. I can escape to close the auto connect. Yeah, that's true. Okay. So we'll probably want something like this. We're also going to definitely want, I would suggest, now here an autocomplete is going to be good. I want an on destroy. So when this game object that this is attached to gets destroyed, we want to call disconnect. Now, this sort of maybe doesn't matter for our standalone program, right? If we run the exe, when we close the exe, this game object gets destroyed, and it will also close all the network connections. But if you don't do this in your editor, right? When we go into our Unity editor over here, we hit play, and then we hit stop, the game object, the application is still running because all the code is running inside here, so it doesn't automatically clean up our network connections. It does destroy the game object, so as long as onDestroy calls disconnect, because otherwise you will end up with a problem where you're testing your application in Unity and it won't quite work right, and that's because it still has the old network connection still open and weird things will happen. Make sure to kill network connection when this object is destroyed, including when we stop the application. Very important for running in the editor. There you go. Otherwise, horrible, annoying things are going to be there. Think you want editor except suggest on character false. I mean, sometimes I want it. That's the thing. Sometimes I want the autocomplete and sometimes I don't. I just wish it could read my mind. Maybe I'm asking for a bit much. All right, so in start, we're going to call initialize. We are also going to call connect. Now, we're also going to do one more call over here, and it's going to be related to this. So one of the questions might be with your application, do we want this object to persist? If we are changing scenes in Unity, right? Load a new scene. By default, what it does is it destroys all the current game objects, loads new scenes, which creates some new game objects. Now, if that happens, when we leave the scene, it's going to like kill our network connection. I mean, no matter what, we want it to. If this game object is destroyed, it's important that the network connection be killed because we are going to lose our variables that track the network connection. We're not going to have access to it anymore. So that is correct. If this object is destroyed, we want it to close the network connection. But we don't necessarily want it to necessarily constantly disconnect, load new scene, reconnect. Depending on what you're doing, sometimes you want it. Other times you don't. We got some whiskey and chocolate coming in. Who that? Where's my Streamlabs? Come on. Have you tried ChatGPT for programming? I have not yet. I find it very helpful, especially for making doc strings, documents for which I'm usually too lazy. Nothing beats an actual programming tutorial, so thanks. Well, thank you. No, I haven't messed around with ChatGPT at all, which is unfortunate. Anyway, it's very likely you actually want this game object to persist and continue to exist as you change your scenes. So one thing you can do is you can make either from the start menu or when you hit the title screen, or when you hit start game for the first time, you can have it go to a dummy scene that creates this object and have it set don't destroy on load, which is just a function. Don't destroy on load, and then you reference this own game object. And this will stop the object from being destroyed when scenes go away and reset. But then you have to make sure to always load the correct scene every time. What's much easier is make sure that this object exists in every single scene, but have it like look after itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to make another little function here called act as singleton. And I have a little parameter here. So what we're going to do is just this. If act as singleton, I'm going to resist putting the equal true, then act as singleton is going to get called. Very, very, very easy here. And all this is going to do is a few things. First of all, our idea is that we're going to be setting don't destroy on load. Okay? The point of this is to do this so it sticks around. But what happens if we load another scene and it's got the exact same thing in it? Technocardy! What does this button do? Thank you, Technocardy. Thank you very much. If we load another scene that's got another copy of this, then it's going to try to do its own connection. So what we have to do is right here is check to see if this object already exists. And if it does, don't do this again. So that's why we save a copy of our instance over here with instance. So we're going to say if instance not equals null. we already exist. So what we're going to do is we're going to destroy ourselves. Destroy game object, and then return. And then assuming we get here, then what we're going to do is we're going to cache the instance to be ourselves and then set don't destroy on load. We need to make sure to actually bail on the rest of the execution over here. So maybe the right thing to do is actually just not have a separate function, because we actually need to bail on the rest of the start, because I don't want to go into initialize and connect if we're supposed to end the run over here. So instead of maybe having another function, what I'm going to do is just put this code in start, which I think is fair and fine. So we go Highlander mode, really, is what the singleton is. This is not from programming terminology, singleton is actually something different than this, but this is what we tend to refer to as a Unity-style singleton, a Unity singleton kind of vibe in here. So we'll do that. So now, if active singleton is true, and if there's already an instance, if there's a non-null instance, then we destroy ourselves and return immediately. We don't run the rest of the startup. There we go. That's okay. All right. I like that. Using ChatGPT for coding is like a better copy and paste that fixes obvious errors from Stack Overflow. How does this work without explicit synchronization? I'm not sure I understand the question, because I don't think we're going to need that for the network code. Because I think we're not going to read raw stream data. We're going to be reading from like stream reader and stream writer here will correctly like batch the things together as discrete messages and complete messages, I think. Maybe you're asking something else and I'm not sure. Instance of class variable. Yeah, right here. Right there. So instance is a class variable of its own class. And actually, a lot of times with instance, because the idea is not to generally mess with this directly. A lot of times I like explicitly give it like a super, like, don't F with this kind of name, but yeah, we'll just do this. So yeah, we just store it in here. And that's basic. Sometimes I use this for things that act as semi-global classes. And have it public, maybe not directly, but maybe an accessor for it, so that in other places in my code, when I need to access a connection manager, because again, the idea with the connection manager is generally there can only be one. Other places in my code, rather than doing GameObject.findObject by type, where the type is a connection manager, and then doing some stuff. Rather than doing this, it becomes a little faster, because those find functions sometimes are a little slow, and depending on how often it comes, I mean, yeah, you can cache it in the other code, but sometimes it's quite handy to just be able to go connection manager.instance.do foo. And that's quite nice. We might end up doing something like that. We'll see. Unity have not have a distinction between static and non-static variables. No, that exists, because it is C#. The problem with static variables that you'll run into is mostly when you're running things in the editor here, because the editor doesn't actually quit, right? If you hit play and you hit stop and you hit play again, static variables don't get reset. If you do something that causes the code to be recompiled, then the static properties or variables should get reset then, but they don't always. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, this does need to be static. Which does mean we have to check for that. Luckily, okay, game object. So this setting things static can lead to traps in Unity. For things that are derived from mono behavior, it's generally safe, because Unity's check for its game objects and like mono behaviors, checking for null actually gets an override internally. They set a special flag for something as being destroyed, which is why if we set destroy game object, and then and let's say we have some other piece of code that's got a reference, you know, some other code has a cache copy of, you know, game object, and it's, you know, it's set to this object, and we call destroy game object, this will become null auto-magically down the line. So I think it's safe here for this singleton implementation, although we should probably double check that. We'll verify that it's working correctly. But yeah, good catch. That this instance here should 100% have been marked as static, because the whole thing is this needs to be shared between classes, between instances of this class. So yeah, we'll verify that. All right. Static gets reset unless you have domain reload turned off, though. Unity does do it properly? I swear we've run into those issues before, although that may have been a long time ago with Unity, with statics not sort of getting cleared between test runs. So that maybe that's no longer an issue. All right, let's look at our initialize code, and I've got some notes here because I kind of want to go a little faster. I think the only thing we need to make sure gets initialized is that our lines to send get reset, or rather, yeah, this is correct. Lines to send, which is our queue. These are all the strings that we've asked our program to send to Twitch chat. And what we do is we enqueue them in lines to send, and then we're going to make sure that they don't overload this. This needs to be started up as a new queue string. Done. I think that's all we have to go and set up in here. Yeah. So I think we're probably ready to work on connect. So connect is going to get a little hairy, but not so much. It's nowhere near as hairy as the code to actually parse messages. Now, the big thing is going to be TCP client, which we defined earlier. We're going to make a new TCP client, and we're going to connect to irc.twitch.tv667. Now, we're doing this through an IRC connection with chat. There's also a WebSocket connection option as well. There's a few different ways that the Twitch API actually supports doing it, but we're just going to connect this way because it seems to work just fine. And there's a lot of support for it. I think for a long time, this was the only way to do it. I think the WebSocket way might be a little bit newer, so there's not as many third-party things in support and, you know, questions on Stack Exchange about it. So I think our debugging life might be a little easier to do this. You're right. On destroy, we should probably set it back to null. Or on, well,
it's whiskey and chocolate.
Yeah, you're probably right. For that. Hey, Plumco Seals! Thank you very much! Want to build a Twitch plugin for Visual Studio? Then Twitch chat can help you in future programming streams. Oh boy, that sounds horribly dangerous. Now, this is all it takes to connect to this server on this port. It's port 6667 is the port for the IRT Twitch thing. This doesn't return, well, the only thing it returns, right, we're instantiating a new object over here. There's no sort of return of a failure state. So the way to check that is this will throw an exception if something goes wrong. So we're going to wrap this whole connection thing in a try. And then we are going to catch if an exception is thrown. We're not importing system directly. I usually don't import system directly or using system directly in Unity projects because there's a couple of things where there's sort of a bit of a name conflict between Unity and system. I think like random, because I think there's a system.random and Unity's .random is Unity engine.random works differently, and then I don't know, I've just had to wrestle with it before, so I prefer not to import system. Now technically this can throw, I think, an argument null exception or a socket exception. I don't really care what kind of exception it is. I just want to catch the exception in general, and all I'm going to do is spit it out. Where we go, debug.log, failed to connect plus E. There you go. And the exception has an implicit E.toString defined, so we'll just spit out the error message. We don't care. Sys.random is not entirely random. I mean, none of the random, you know, computers only have pseudo-random generators. But the annoying thing is that Unity's random and systems random, just they have different parameters, or annoyingly sometimes they have the same parameters, but they work differently. I think systems random, you actually have to you create the object. It's not just static function calls. I think you have to create the random object. So they get in each other's way and it's really frustrating. So yeah, we just don't bother with it. All right, so that's going to be that. Now, Let's assume that some of these connections are more or less going to work. So first, what we're going to do, I don't know if we're going to be checking how we're going to be checking connection state everywhere along the way, but over here we're going to set the connection state to say, listen, we are attempting to connect. So we'll set this because why not? We're going to connect over here again. This might fail and throw the exception, but if we get to the next line, we assume everything is continuing to work fine. We're going to set up a new stream reader based on tcp-client.getStream, which apparently has an overload where, well, it's got network stream, but it will map to stream reader. I have different things. I'm not super up to date on exactly the full C# like network library, but we've done these things before, so it's not too bad. And then we're going to set up a new stream writer over here. And again, even if our bot is going to be mostly read only, we still need to be able to send, well, first of all, we need to be able to send our connection messages, which we're about to do. And secondly, we need to be able to run, to respond to pings with a pong, if I recall correctly from my old IRC days. Ping pong. Are we going more the Twitch plays route, or are we doing more like stream moods, crowd control? Maybe. Well, this one here, what we're doing is we're just making sure it connects. And then I think what I'll do is have it like, whereas people type the names, they'll like fall down from the screen or something, just as a proof of concept. Whether or not we continue this with more games, we'll see. So now we have to do our actual connection. Now, counterintuitively to me, what we're going to do is actually send the pass first. IRC, the actual IRC client, like connection code. I was just reading the RFC yesterday for IRC. I don't remember if it's actually agnostic about what order we put things in, but the big thing is with Twitch here, what we're doing is we're sending this OAuth. This is our access token, and really this is all Twitch needs to know who is connecting here. So it's OAuth followed by the access token with no space in between. So basically it's sort of one string that's OAuth colon and then the access token that we've gotten previously. At this point, Twitch should know exactly who we are and that we're allowed to be here because these access tokens are like super secret. By the way, these access tokens do expire, I think, every 60 days. So sometimes they will have to be refreshed. It might be 60 days without activity, or it might be just 60 days from last time it was authenticated. I don't know. Now, we are still going to send in right line the nick, which is going to match what we had before, which is just the username. And then we're going to send in so the template that I was looking at over here, right? This Allison Hin, they also send another one to set user flags. And they set a user flag to appear as invisible. I think it'll prevent the user from showing up in the username list. So you might be able to make your bot just not show up as a viewer. I don't know exactly what Twitch does with the users that are flagged invisibly or not. I'm not going to bother setting it because it's not required. But what we are going to be required to do is join a channel, which of course starts with a pound number because all IRC channels do. And the channel will be the channel that we set previously. Now this will be the Quilly Teen channel for this particular example. API access code should be a separate thing to the code. Actually using start up the stream, something like OBS XSplit. Yeah, I mean, what I'm not going to do here is I'm not building a user interface to get the user to input their access tokens. I just did it through code previously, and I've just got it stored in a player perhaps, but that ultimately was what we're going to do. We're working on the proof of concept of getting this point to work, because, I mean, it's sort of just kind of a library thing, and we don't know what the full picture would be. Now, these lines actually get queued up to be sent. The sending doesn't happen. I think it's got an internal buffer limit. When it's reached, it will start sending, but we can also force it to send now with a flush. Hey, Joe's just asking about auto flush. I'm going to go ahead and manually flush it here rather than sending any automatic stuff. We're just going to run there. And theoretically, we should now be connected. We're not actually double checking the response over here. I believe if for some reason Twitch rejects any of this, it will just immediately close the connection. But we're going to be kind of naive right now and just assume we're connected. So we're going to flip the connection state to say we're connected, and we can check for some other things down the road. And then what we're going to do here is we are going to start listening for messages. So we are going to get ourselves a coroutine. Now, in the past, for whatever reason, I haven't been a fan of Unity coroutines. I think because there's so much magic happening behind the scenes, right? Of like how it's being called and called over again and things. Like they've designed it to look like a very nice function that you sort of just yield from. But I'm always like, yeah, but how is it really happening? And I don't know if I trust it and yada yada. So I've tended to implement my own things with just like a function that gets called every update and everything. Anyway, I should probably get over that shit. So yeah, add in error handling and logging later. Yeah, but so basically what's going to happen here is if we do get an error, either it's going to close the connection immediately, or what it might do, it might send us a message and then close the connection. These are all possible. But here's the thing. If this sends us an error message, we're going to be capturing it from reading in data in a sec here. Maybe it sends an error message and then leaves the connection open. We'll sort of have to find out by just trying it and seeing what happens, and then figuring out how do we know how to deal with it. Oh, sorry, this is not public. This is going to be private. And then it's an enumerator. And read stream. There you go. So what we're going to do is we are going to start coroutine. And there's another, it's like so weird because like, you don't just like pass the name of the function, which is how I think about it when you're doing event listeners and you've got lambdas and things like that. But no, you actually like do the parentheses as if you're calling it now, but it's because read stream isn't being called here. It's returning the enumerator that's then going to get called every frame. Coroutines wig me out, man. They just freak me out. I don't know why, but they do. So this is just going to be a big loop. So while our connection state is equal to connected, as long as we are connected, we are going to check to see if there's any data waiting for us. So first, if TCP client dot available. So if you're still running, and this returns an integer, huh? What is? Let me check the text on this, because I just have it to be over 0. But I'm actually interested in what these values actually can be. The number of bytes of data received from the network and available to read. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, it's not if the connection is available. It's how many bytes are available to be read. Okay. So, if available bytes are greater than 0, then we know there's something waiting for us. But the other thing we can do is check the reader. So the reader is going to have a queue of lines in there, and we can just peek and check to see if it's over 0. And again, let me double check the documentation on this one. Stream reader peak. Yeah, an integer representing the next character to be read, or -1 if there are no characters to be read, or if the stream does not support seeking. Okay, yeah, so this is just our status in the stream, because this is all inherited. Stream reader is descended from just, hey, do you not have the parent class listed in here? Oh, I guess I have to click on a different place. Anyway, they're just IO readers. There's the same code that you use to read files and things. These are all just streams. So yeah, we're just going to check that things are definitely waiting for us. I wonder, and again, I'm partially using another template stuff that does this. I don't know if both these are required to check. It's sort of a belt and suspenders kind of vibe, but I'm a fan of belt and suspender kind of programming, you know? Like check both, look both ways before crossing a one-way street kind of vibe is very strong in with programmers. So we're going to get the next line. So string line equals reader dot read line. Now, what's very interesting here, not guaranteed to be an actual single line from chat, which might send more than one. It might. Okay, hold on. Readline, I suppose, will, because readline must split the stream on new lines. So what Twitch will do is a single TCP message might batch multiple chat messages together, but they are separated by new lines, the full Windows style new lines, which is what? RN/R/R? No, other way around, I think. Carriage return new line? I don't remember. Windows new lines are dumb. We hate them. Yeah, carriage return, then new line. What kind of crazy crackhead? 2-character new lines for Windows code. Always a pain in the butt. So yeah, maybe this is guaranteed to be a single line at this point. That might be why we check both these. Well, again, if I feel like if peak is greater than 0, then TCP available is always greater than 0. It feels like to me like this one is redundant. I'm going off there. Maybe they had a good reason to write that in. Maybe they didn't. But we'll go ahead and do that. So, yeah. Then we need to do something with this line. And this is a piece of code that I'm very much not going to write on my own. So, do something with line. Come back to that in just a second. And the big thing is we want to keep looping in this while. So basically we want read stream to be checked every single frame. And the way we do that is a yield return null. We could, if we wanted to, for some reason, we could put a timer in here, pause for 100 milliseconds, then check. But there's really no reason not to. We may as well check every frame to see if there's new data waiting. This function takes like 0 seconds to execute. So we may as well just do that. There's no reason to delay any further. But we do have to return, because otherwise what's going to happen is this is an infinite loop we're setting up, right? So this is literally just going to run forever and would just freeze our program. So this lets the rest of the program continue to execute and do some things, which is good. Most of the time, there's not going to be anything here. Unless you're in the world's busiest channel where literally every millisecond there's a new piece of text happening, which, I guess for bigger streams than me, it's going to be that. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to process the string. And this is the string. There's an example right over here on the Twitch dev site. I'm going to drop a link in the chat for people. This is an example of how you parse the text that comes from Twitch. Because, they don't actually have the example of what the message looks like over here, which is annoying. I want to post an actual example of what it looks like. And I know one of the pages here has got it. Sending and receive messages. Trying to chat message, receiving message. There we go. So a single normal message, a Twitch line of text looks like this. Boom. So there's a lot of info that it sends in the text here. It tells you the user that sent it and what server they're connected to, which I think mostly will always be twitch.tv, unless there's some strange internal things that happen. It will be tagged as private message, but it's a private message to the channel, which in this case, this example would be channel bar, and then it's got their actual text message over here. So for our messages, will look more like this. Quill18, Quill is the best and or worst, right? This is sort of what the text is going to look like over here with username of chatter showing up there. So the example runs us through filtering that, but as it is noted on this page, which I'll post a link over here, as noticed in this page, sometimes it will send multiple messages in one transmission, but because it does separate it with new lines, this probably does literally just get us a single line that looks very much like this. So what we're going to want is we're going to want to find our chat window again. There we go. So I've got you, and we are going to have a function that, and again, I'm very much using the other one as a template for this particular area. We are going to make a function called process line, and it's going to take in a single string that is a line, and this is what we're going to call over here. Whenever possible, you want your functions to be small and very focused on one particular thing. And in fact, this is what it's going to do. It's going to call a different function to parse it. So what we're going to do is first parse the message into like sub parts, basically. do something based on the command. There are two major commands we're interested in here from the Twitch server. One is a ping request to confirm that our connection is still alive and should remain alive. So if we haven't been active for a bit, the server might ping us, we respond with a pong. The other thing we'll do is we'll respond to something that's got this priv message command, which is basically an actual chat message, and that's what we're very, very interested in. So we are going to have another function. This song is a banger. Music's not too loud, is it? We're good? Now, I don't do this a lot. It's a good reminder that it exists, and I should probably use it more. Music is good, good. I personally, when I want to return multiple things from a function, what I usually do is pass it an object that's like a structure that can take multiple parameters. So I would make some sort of subclass that was something like parsed message, or maybe even I might return an array. What I don't use very often, I should probably use more often, is the fact that you can return, and I mean, internally I'm sure this works very much like an array, but you can return multiple things from a function call. Parse message, string, message over here. And parse message's job is going to be to return there you go. A command, that's going to be the priv message part. The source, which should be the username of the chatter, and then parameters, which is going to be the rest of it over here. And that's what we're interested in, and then we're going to do something based on what the command is. Oh, we can name these too over here. So that's quite nice. I really have to go and use this kind of feature more often. I don't know. It's possible that when I started learning C#, that returning this wasn't a possibility in things. Like, for example, I still struggle. I write a lot of code still that looks like if foo not equals null, then foo dot baz. I still write code like this all the time. And in fact, I may still just for more visibility, even though what you can do nowadays is do this. Right, assuming I've got the syntax correctly here. This will run baz only if foo is not null, as a nice, sexy one-liner. Although then I get lots of questions of, what the hell does this mean? Right, so sometimes in my tutorials I'm still explicit and do it this way, because then people who follow know. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff like that that is like, well, I mean, I learned it at one point, and that wasn't available originally. There was a while where you could, well, I'm sure you can still do sort of thing. You could manually go and bring in a more updated version of C# into Unity, but it was a huge pain in the ass. Now Unity just uses a more up-to-date version of C#, so that sort of stuff is just built in, but yeah. So we're gonna do something based on the command. We'll tell you what, we'll come back to parse message in a second, but we'll just write our code here. So if command is equal to ping, which should always be uppercase. I mean, we can do command dot to upper or something like that. Oh, which actually does remind me, now that we're talking about this, I think internally, while you can have your username in Twitch have uppercases and stuff visually, I think internally your usernames are always lowercase. So it's possible here with username and channel, we might need to do like two lower to actually make things, you know, or whatever. Just make sure you enter it properly or process it in some way. Maybe I'll put in a note. In case people run into a problem, maybe that's going to be a solution to something. So I'm gonna do it, but keep that in mind. So yeah. If command equals ping, then send keep alive response. Else if command is equal to priv message. This is a regular line of Twitch chat. And then what we can do is put in another else over here, out of curiosity, and do something like debug.log warning unrecognized chat command plus command. maybe it's not nothing we care about, but I'm curious as to what things the server might send us other than a ping and a private message. So we'll know about it. We might end up disabling this later on because we don't give a shit. So we're going to come back to this, but that's the sort of structure we're looking at over here. So for the parse message, this is the code I am not writing, and you're going to see why I'm not writing it. All right. Because I'm 99% sure that I would make several like off by one math errors and things writing this, and I don't want this stream to be a Quill debugs code stream. I want it to be, let's think about the logic of things. Now, this code is actually very simple. When we are going to go through it, it's very simple, but very easy to make mistakes with. So we get a string over here, this the message, and we're going to do an index. And what we're going to do is we're going to go character by character in here, looking for special delimiters. But there's a variety of delimiters we're looking like, so we can't just do like a split based on a thing. If I was way back, 22 years ago, 23 years ago, in my my network server job, I would write regexes in my Perl script, regexes, to parse this up and things like that, which may in fact lead to fewer lines of things, although it would mostly look like line noise as well. But yeah, so what this code is doing here is it's just looking through various subcomponents of this to try to figure out like what is what. So there's an @ symbol can be a divider or delimiter, I suppose. A colon can also be a delimiter. In fact, there's more than one to look at. And this is where it's just trimming this down, slicing it up to the subparts of the message. And in fact, once it gets the raw component part, it then calls another function, parse command. Now this one is much simpler, but I'm still just going to copy and paste it because again, I assume I might make a terrible mistake. So it figures out the command part of the message, right? So again, our message has, well, I mean, there's a lot of lines in here, but part of it is the command, part of it is the parameter. So what it's done in this first thing, the parse message command was found the raw command component of it, and then it's putting it to parse command, where it's just doing a little bit of extra processing, and then it's going to do the same thing with parse source, which this is figuring out, unless I'm wrong, and I'm never wrong, parse source is figuring out the user that sent it, is basically that. Again, I'm just worried that I'm going to implement this and do an off by one error, and we'll be here forever trying to debug this shit. And again, this is basically based on this example parser that I just sent you. This example parser on the Twitch page is basically what this is doing, except it was doing, and it's got the same function names and everything. It's got IDX, it's got raw command component. It's exactly the same, except it was written in JavaScript. And then this Allison person, very lovely, they did the work of converting it to C#. Thank you very much for that. And I'm not going to write it because, again, yeah. All right. So at this point, assuming we trust that works, let's hope it does. Assuming we trust that works, parse message has come in and completed this. What I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to put, nope, I don't want a summary, actually. Everything below this was copied from, make sure credit where credit is due. There you go. Okay, good. Boom. RC contact donates this. Yeah, and again, I'm actually kind of curious about doing a re-implementation of this with the WebSockets. Because a lot of the WebSocket stuff it sends you is actually, I think it's sending you JSON, or yeah, I think so you'd still have to parse it, although there's lots of JSON parsers out there, which theoretically would make our job a lot easier. But we're at the point, because we copied this part, we're at the part where everything is really easy. So if we get a ping, if we don't respond to a ping in a certain amount of time, and actually a lot of IRC servers would send multiple pings before it would consider you to be timed out, but eventually it would just go ahead and disconnect you. So what we want to do is we want to respond with a ping. So we are going to send a line of text to the server where we respond with pong plus the parameters that were sent over here. Now, gonna do this for a sec. So we clearly have to write a function called sendLine. What I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna put it above this. No, we'll put it down here. It's gonna be fine. So private void sendLine, which is obviously gonna take a line of text. And then something else. Now, ping pong, yeah, ping pong. Programmers are hilarious. So sendLine's going to be pretty simple. Normally, what it's going to do is we have this queue, lines to send, and we're simply going to go ahead and in-queue this new line. And in our update function, we're going to be checking to see, do we have lines to send? Because we have an interval, we have a rate limit set in. We want to make sure we don't send messages too quickly or we'll be disconnected from the Twitch servers, so it's going to babysit that. However, some things need to be sent immediately. For example, the response to the ping command, we want to make sure it goes out immediately so we don't get timed out. So what we're going to do is we're going to set a parameter over here, a boolean, which is just going to be called something like send now. And it can default to false. So normally we won't be sending a second parameter. But in the case of the Pong response here, we're going to set this to true so that we send it immediately. So then what we do is we do an if send now else like that. So if it's a send now, we do things a little bit differently. We immediately tell the writer that we want to write a line. The line is going to be this line, and we're going writer.flush. And we could do some auto flush and stuff, but we'll do it manually over here. So we're going to send this line immediately if send now is true. Otherwise, we're just going to in-queue this line over here. I forgot that Twitch is using IRC, written IRC bots in C# decades ago. Yeah. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about them. Now, it's like, it's not a pure, should there be space after Pong? You are 100% correct. Thank you for catching that right over here. Pong space parameters. That would not have worked. Good catch. Yeah, I think the Twitch IRC servers are like, they're special. They're not all standard in every way, but the advantage of this, IRC is a very well-established chat system. Why not, don't reinvent the wheel all the time. If you can use something that already exists, do it. So that was really good. I mean, that was back in their Justin.tv days. And in fact, funny thing is, if you do want to connect to Twitch chat anonymously, I think what you do for your nickname is you send nickname is something like Justin Fan, and then you set just any old number. I think any number from like 0 to 1,000 is fine. You do that, and I think you still send a password, but it doesn't actually care what it is. You can send it blank, or you can send a garbage password. It doesn't matter. But I think this way here, this is how you connect anonymously. You're not allowed to talk, but I think you can read chat anonymously that way. And that was back when, before Twitch TV was Twitch.tv, it was Justin.tv. And I think the Twitch part was their branding for the gaming stuff, which eventually overwhelmed everything else. So they just went with that. Okay, so we've got that. That's great. So I guess now I'm just going to go up to the... Yeah, I think we're just going to go to update so we can start actually sending these lines of text, because we just in-queue it, but they're not currently being sent. So if we swing back over... Oh, I guess I don't have an update. I often like to put all of the standard game object functions, like start, on destroy, and update, near the top of my code, which I think is fine. So this is one case where I'm like happy with the autocomplete. It's like, yep, that's exactly what I want. So what we do here is update is basically, its whole job is just going to be to send more lines of text. I'm going to make a separate function for this. We'll call it, I don't know, send queued messages. There you go. Rather than write an update directly, we'll put it in something that's named an appropriate amount or appropriate thing. So we got our send line over here. So we'll put this right nearby. Send queued messages. Text message on my phone? No? Yes? Just a random alert that I don't care about? Oh, thank you, Spotify. Thank you for sending me an alert. I'm really interested in those notifications. I'll have to disable you later. I don't actually get any real text messages. There's always some goddamn app. Just that new app has decided to enable notifications all of a sudden and just becomes annoying. I love you, Spotify, but no. All right, so this is called Every Update. So our job here is, if we've got lines to send, if there's things in the queue, then let's just send the next line. Now, I guess there's not nothing stopping us. If we have 10 lines in the queue, we could, okay, so here's the thing. We could set up something like while lines to send dot, it's probably count for this. Yeah. While this is greater than 0, do this until we hit the, our interval limit. Or we could just send 1 per frame. There's probably no real difference between the two. Is there? I was thinking we just send 1 line every frame, but I suppose as long as we've got a bunch of stuff in queued, we may as well just ship it. Yeah, there's going to be some throttling, because the Twitch servers care about it, but it doesn't really matter if we send, 5 different TCP messages within the same frame. The time to do that is basically nil. It shouldn't cause any visual frame hitching or anything like that. It should be, well, actually, this is TCP. One thing I don't know, with writers, with my stream writers flush. So, okay, what we're doing, hang on a sec. What we're doing is we're doing write line. And we're going to be sending lines to send.dq, right? We're going to be doing this. I'm actually assuming that this is asynchronous and therefore returns immediately. I'm kind of curious about that. What is it called? Network stream? The write method blocks until the requested number of bytes is sent. That's write as opposed to, yeah. That's right as opposed to write line. Stream writer might be a little different. I'm just going to check. I suspect it's not. And I'll explain what I'm talking about in a second here. Control F, block. Doesn't specify it. But I'm assuming it sends it via the same method. Yeah, it's not clear in the documentation. So here's the thing. The question I'm asking is whether or not write line sort of freezes your program until it's done sending this line. Now, this would still happen very quickly, but if it does, even if it's just for a couple of milliseconds, we're going to want to limit this to 1 per frame. Because network stream.write, which I think this is basically derived from. That's derived from text writer. Marshaled by object. Using disposable. I don't know. Let's assume this blocks, and therefore we don't want to send a bunch of lines of text. And this is kind of moot because currently our program, the one that we're going to be writing, isn't going to be sending much. But let's say this bot is fairly active. What if it's super active and participates in a million different channels? In which case, only writing 1 line per frame, it's never going to get the job done. I mean, there's like some interesting funky things. StreamWrite has an async. I mean, we can do threads and stuff like that, which what I'm kind of hoping in is behind the scenes it might be doing that, or maybe only block on a flush. Let's tell you what. Something premature optimization, root of all evil. Let's take the most naive implementation here. Let's send every line that's waiting every frame, and then if we run into issues later, then we can be like, okay, well, let's split it up. Let's split it up as a separate stream, although then we run into... We need to make sure to have a proper lock on the lines to send object so that we're not adding to it while we're also reading from it. You know, that leads to other things. But let's take a naive implementation first and worry about more stuff later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to write this line. Now, we are keeping track of how many lines we have sent, right? One of the things we're doing is num line sent plus plus. And what we want to do is we want to not exceed the number of lines that we're sending in a single interval. So we're also going to want to check on that. If lines sent is greater, or for the while, I suppose, it's while this is less than num lines per interval, while we have sent fewer lines than we're allowed in a single interval, and we've got more lines to send, do that. So as we're running this number is going to increase. So either we're going to run out of stuff to send, or we're going to run out of stuff we're allowed to send before we have to breathe. Otherwise, the server is going to boot us. So we're going to go and put that in. That's going to have some rate limiting. That's going to be in there. Now, again, we're not setting auto flush or anything like that, especially if we're doing this loop. I think what we're going to want to do is we're going to write every single line to the stream and then flush it all at once while it's over. So we kind of want to do here a writer.flush, which actually does the send. And if anything's the blocker, it might be this, which, sure, fine. But it'll do as one big clump, so it should be generally okay. But I don't think we want to call this unless we know we've actually written something. So we want some sort of like did write lines equals false. Did write lines equals true. So then we do if we did write lines, then flush. Actually, I always like to put braces around here, just because of my own internal consistency. And then it's really easy to go and add like a comment later on. So, all right, that's my own formatting format. Does upon count against the message limit? I suppose what we should really do with the send now is I guess we should also go and increment the num line sent. Because yeah, I mean, it is a message, right? Yeah, let's do that. Worst case scenario, we send one less line of text this update, and, you know, that seems actually pretty legit. Okay, so we've got this. The thing we don't do is we don't babysit the intervals and the line sent, right? This never gets reset. So what we need is, we set it as interval remaining, right? Yeah. So I see that a lot when I do my game programming with like, this would be called, I'd have, this would be the cooldown and cooldown remaining. Is exactly how I do it. Here we're calling it interval and interval remaining. Again, mostly because I'm using that other template and I'm trying to keep things as consistent with that template as possible because I think that was a good idea. So what we need to do is on update, well, I mean, sort of on update, but in send queued messages, we want to take interval remaining minus equal time, time to delta time. We probably have to set this to a number. Well, it's going to start at 0, which I guess is fine. I don't know. So like, if interval remaining is less than 0, I mean, less than or equal to, it doesn't really make a difference one way or another. We can reset our anti-spam interval over here. So we're going to set num line sent back to 0, and then we're going to reset interval remaining to our interval. Nope, our interval. Like that. There we go. So we've currently got it set for every 30 seconds. We can only send so many lines, which is currently set, I believe, to 15. So if at any point we've sent more than 15 lines, we do this. Now, I think we could probably do this in a more intelligent fashion where... Because what this is doing is let's say we're sending one line of text. I don't, because we could get some clumpiness, right? If we sent everything sort of at once, it waits the full 30 seconds to set it back to 0. Whereas what we could sort of do is age off. It's like, well, we sent 2 messages at the start of the interval, but that was, 31 seconds ago, so we can ignore those and sort of offset. But I'm not sure that we actually come out like very much ahead doing a slightly more sophisticated way of doing it, rather than just waiting for an entire clump of 30 seconds and then resetting it. But there's definitely a more smarter way to do this. Shouldn't you reset the num line set at the beginning method? No, we don't want to reset num line sets at the beginning of this method, because it can only get reset after 30 seconds of interval have gone by. And technically, this is also counting an interval while nothing's being sent, but that's fine. It's going to be okay. This is a very rudimentary way of implementing it, but certainly what's going to happen here is we're never going to send more than 15 lines of text within a 30-second window. Well, that's not entirely true, because we could send 15 messages and then still have to respond to a pong. I think the Twitch restriction on a regular chat thing is 20 messages every 30 seconds. So this does give us a 5 message padding in here in case we do have to send some pongs in response to the keep alive. Checking my notes. Yeah, I think we're good with this. Does Unity not have a token bucket rate limiter built in? I don't know. I'm not good enough for that. That's a good point. Reducing the interval will be effectively the same as implementing a rolling window. You're right. If I divide everything by 3, if I said send no more than 5 messages every 10 seconds, that would be the same as no more than 15 every 30, but could potentially smooth it off. We'll leave it be, but that's an excellent point. I'll leave it as an exercise to the viewer. Just scrolling through my notes here. Have we done everything? In initialize, or when we connect, I wonder if these count as lines sent, because in the example code I'm seeing they are counting it there. I suppose better safe than sorry. We can say num line sent is equal to 3, because I just sent 3 lines of text. Sure. And if we're going to count it, then I do have to set the interval remaining to something that's not 0. Because right now it's starting at 0, which means it'll instantly get reset back to num line sent equals 0. So here we're going to have to force it to interval. Okay. Anything else in my notes? Oh! In our exception here, it's possible that this didn't fail on the connection line here. It's possible that maybe something else threw an exception for some weird reason. I don't expect so. I think if anything's going to throw an exception, it's going to be this. But again, belt and suspenders kind of vibe. I'm going to put in if TCP client isn't null, then make sure to close the connection at this point. And also, connection state equals disconnected. Although I suppose I could have just called disconnect. Because I think disconnect's going to end up being exactly this. So we can probably do that. I don't think I have to close the streams. They should close when the connection closes. I assume they have a close. Again, belt and suspenders. Now, the streams must just die when this happens. The important thing is to kill the connection. Yeah. So what I don't do now, you're right, is we don't check the authentication failure if something goes wrong over here. We are currently naively assuming that the connection works perfectly okay. What I think I should do...
Hey, Quill, pay attention. There's a new subscriber.
...is, for now, let's log every message that we get. Let's log it to the console so we can see what comes back to us. And what we should do is we should send an invalid entry at some point and see what the error message is. You know, and find out, does it close our connection? Because we're also not watching if TCP client closes for any reason. So, because yeah, I don't think we'd check here because we have to wait for a response. So it would be over in the stream reading that it would happen. But on update, over here, we do this. And then in read stream, I suspect it's going to be one of these else messages over here. Oh, why am I putting a space in here? If I just crunch it together, that's usually how people control F or to-dos. Same thing here. In fact, some IDEs auto-highlight them or even auto-create a list of tasks based on to-do being one word. All right, let's run this and see what happens. Connecting could also be done from update. Yeah, that's true. Try it every frame. I mean, so start is basically the same as update, but it runs once. Literally, the first time update is about to be run, it runs start instead. One of the questions I sometimes have for some of these things is, do we actually want to do this thing in start? Do we want to do it in on enable? There's a few different things that are useful in Unity as the setup kind of job, but I think start for our purposes are going to work okay. No issues found currently, so we haven't made any obvious syntax errors. Connection manager is attached to this dummy object. Is it instead or before the first step? It's instead. So it runs start, then it runs update, and then every frame from then on just runs update. Yeah. There's a web page somewhere that shows you what happens every frame, like what functions are called, because I think there's like an on before update and an on after update, or a late update, that's what it's called. And then same thing for like startup. So on enable actually happens immediately when the object is enabled. There's also an on awake, or maybe just called awake. I don't know. I think it goes awake, on enable, start. Now start only ever runs once for a game object, but on enable, if you disable and re-enable an object, obviously it reruns that again. Yeah, there's some funky things in there, and every now and again, it'll catch you out. Hey! It's me! I'm in there! Oh my god, it totally works! Nice! Look, it's you people! Where's the, like, drop tables chat? Sweet! Oh my god, that happened fast! Okay. This is why I did a lot of prep work and was using the template so that a lot of the obvious things would be gone. Now, so we did get some unknown commands. We got like numeric things. Unrecognized chat command 366. End of names. Yeah, so there's a few things, but I think I'm worried about it. Okay, so I think we can stop dropping the raw debug lines into the console because that'll just get a little noisy on my end. So we have to do something, right? We read stream, we check it, we process line, command equals private message. This is what we care about. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a handler for this. Now that's not going to exist inside Connection Manager. Connection Manager is going to be naive and reusable, and especially, you know, when we check for authentication and stuff, hopefully relatively robust. What we're interested in here is an ability for a separate piece of code to be informed when we get a command message, which very naturally to me seems like an event. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to define a delegate. I hate that word. Why is it delegate? You know, why is that the word that is used? There's probably some good reason. but to me it's like function template. But it was one of the harder things to explain. So we're going to make an event. So first of all, there's going to be a public event, and it's going to be called chat message listener. So chat message listener. And what an event is basically just an array of functions. You can go and add a function call from another piece of code. You can add a function call to this list, and basically we can call chat message list. Well, it's actually listeners, and it'll call all of those functions for us. Now, those functions are going to need a particular signature, right? Function signature. They'll have to just look a certain way and be in a standardized way, so we know what to expect. And that, for whatever reason, is called a delegate. So we define a delegate. The delegate has to be public, so that also has to be spelled correctly. And then what we do here is all we're doing is defining what the function signature looks like. So it's gonna return nothing. It's gonna be called chat message listener, listener, and it's gonna take a string, which is going to be the. So again, how it's defined in here, it's defined as source, and then parameters. We could explicitly sort of rename this as a hint of like this is the sender versus the message is what it is. But I guess in this piece of code I'll leave it here. How we call what we name these functions or what we name these parameters in our actual functions can be whatever. We can call them foo and baz. It makes no difference. But over here we'll do that. And I spell parameters. Pronounce it parameters, but it's spelled parameters. Parameters. Or am I wrong? Oh my god, I'm doubting everything about my entire existence. Yes. Parameters. So the function signature is just this. So all we're doing is we're specifying this is sort of an array of functions that meet this signature, and that's that. And what we're gonna do in our where's my I don't have my function call explorer, that's fine. Over here, when we get a private message, we are going to call our chat message listeners. That's it. So what's really annoying to me with this is you'd have to check that it's null. And it used to be kind of annoying to do that. We can do it this way, which is going to be fine. So we're going to invoke all of these functions. Because what you can do, it's very cool. You can do this. Although you do have to pass the parameters to it. That's true. So what we have to pass here is the source and parameters, like that. You can do this and it looks super sexy. The problem is, if no one ever registered to chat message listeners, this could be null. And as far as I can tell, there's no way to do like the cool question mark thing here. Like, we could do an if not null, then whatever. But what we can do is the slightly wordier one. Now we can do question mark dot invoke, which is exactly the same, but this will only call it if it's not null. If there's a way to do the other like signature form, if there's a way to do this while checking that chat message listeners is not null, like in a sexier way, let me know, because I would love doing that instead of calling invoke. I don't know why, just because. Anyway, so we do this. Now we just write some code that registers some sort of message listener. So let's go and do that. So over here, we're going to make, I think what I want is I want it so that whenever someone types in chat, their name falls down from the top of the screen. I'm sure that's going to lead to a lot of spam, but it'll be a good proof of concept, right? So let's do that. We've got a dummy little text object here. So actually, let me delete you and just make a new one. Yeah, just a text with TouchMesh Pro. Falling username, which we'll be making as a prefab, but we'll do a little quick test. So it's going to come from here. We'll give it, I guess I could just write its own logic for this. I mean, it's just an object that falls, but it might do something else. So tell you what, we'll add a component called falling username. and it's just gonna like fall down the screen. Vector, because we want random motion or something. I don't know. Tell you what, we'll do it as a vector 2. Velocity. Sure. Which, I don't know, might become something public that we post, like, and I can tweak and other things, but let's just get it started. So we'll set a new vector 2. So the x is going to be 0, so it falls straight down. And I think, because these are going to be in GUI coordinates, I think we want positive y, because I think 0, 0 is at the top of the screen. So we're going to give it some sort of velocity. That's probably going to be way too slow. We'll give it some sort of velocity. And we are going to do... Now, it's in a GUI, it could do rect transform, different things like that, but I think we can just use the regular transform and get the job done in this case. He said. Maybe. He hopes. Transform dot translate, and which is going to be our velocity times time dot delta time, so that we get a constant speed regardless of frame rate. Okay, I'm just assuming I've made an error already, but let's find out what happens when I hit play. Well, first of all, we're going to want the game view here. Like that, and let me just force a 16:9 aspect ratio here, just because that's what we're probably going to expect. So if I hit play, is the text going to fall? Oh, it is going up! Maybe, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the canvas root, maybe 0, 0 is down in the bottom left corner, or maybe because I'm converting from, I'm using transform dot position instead of the rect. Maybe that's not the case. So let's do that. And yeah, this is how far it's going to move in a second. So, I don't have a fixed... Yeah, let's do the very common fix to lots of problems. Rather than constant pixel side, we're going to go... Scale with screen size. We're going to have a reference resolution of 1280 by 720. So now, no matter how big or small we make the window, things will move at the exact same rate on this. And I'm going to assume a 16:9 ratio, because ultimately this is going to be acting as an overlay in OBS, and in OBS we're almost certainly streaming in 16:9. There's your standard 1080p, 720p, etc., etc. Technically, I'm running this at 720p, and we'll upscale into OBS, but I don't think that'll be a problem. So if I set it to like something like 500, it'll take just over a second to fall from the top of the screen down to the bottom, because it needs to travel 720 pixels. There you go. That seems right-ish for, you know, the numbers I'm making up on top of my head. Sure, fine, good. Okay, so now we have to spawn those. So let's make a folder for our prefabs. Let's copy following username into the prefabs. And maybe as part of the canvas so that it can use it as a parent thing. Yeah, let's do... I'm going to create an empty inside the canvas here. This is going to be following username spawner. And what I'm going to do with this bad boy is tell it that it is fixed to the top of the screen and needs to scale to the top of the screen. But we're going to offset it. If it's got a height of 100, we're going to give it a negative 100. Not see? Oh no, yeah, that makes sense. A positive 100y, so it's just above the screen over here. We're going to use this as a reference for where the following usernames will spawn from. And in fact, I might want to give it a margin on the left and the right. So if we spawn things inside of there, something like that. I don't know. Right now, we'll just use the root of it. But we're going to add a component to this called following username spawner. This is actually going quite a bit faster than expected, despite the fact that I did a lot of random chit-chatting along the way. That in HTML support. Yeah, you know what we'll do? We'll actually add we'll do a javascript.eval on the raw input from Twitch chat. I think that would be a good idea. We'll just naked run the code as is. Now, here is the fact of the matter is, here we are accepting user input from the wild. We're taking random stuff from Twitch chat and we're going to do some things with it. if we were programming something that wasn't a managed memory system, if we were doing this in C or C++ or something like that, we would have to be extremely careful about buffer overflow issues and things like that, because it could allow people to run arbitrary code. Like if some, the equivalent of something like this, delete Windows. I mean, obviously that's, not code, but, something like that. But first of all, we're not trusting ourselves to, we're using the standard C# library to do as much network processing as possible. And because it's a managed memory thing, which is, less speedy than a raw, bare bones, running on the metal kind of programming, but should mostly protect us from those sorts of things. But I don't know, maybe I'm opening myself to horrible danger. Sounds like fun. Okay, so the falling username spawner is going to need a public reference to our falling username prefab. Let me set that right away, because I'm notorious for putting this in and then forgetting to actually link together. So the falling username will go in there. And let's think about our game logic here. Check to see if, well, actually, there's no check to see over here. What we're going to specify is we're going to specify a function that meets the same signature as our listener over here. Like this. And here I'll say username, and then I'll say massage over here, and we're going to need to register that with our connection manager. Now, ideally, we'd like to register that in the start. It seems like this the obvious thing, right? In the start, we're going to want to find an instance of connection manager and register ourselves as a listener. However, we have no guarantee that this game object start will run after connection manager's game object start, which means the, well, actually, I guess it doesn't matter in this case, because whether or not connection manager has started up is not going to affect our ability to register ourselves with chat message listeners. All right. What it does mean, though, is if we want to find the connection manager, if we wanted to find it via instance, let's say this was public, and I want to do my very frequent trick where I was, in this case, it'd be quills.awesomechatmanager.instance. And here I'm looking to register myself as a chat message listener, which is register C# event. We just plus equal, and then our function. If I want to do this, there's no guarantee that instance has been set yet, so it might still be in a null state. So the way we would do it in this case is we would check on update every frame to see, has this become non-null, in which case, okay, let's register ourselves, and then let's do that. Just because instance hasn't necessarily been set. But in this case, because we're only doing it one time, what we're going to do is we're going to use the GameObject.find for this. GameObject.find objects by type. We want to find a game object in our scene that's got the type with connection manager. Specifically, we're looking for the component of connection manager.
It's whiskey and chocolate.
CM equals this. Thank you very much. Love your programming streams. Thank you very much for these. Well, thank you for being here. They're a lot of fun. They're a lot of work, and my brain hasn't been in the programming mode for so long, which has been frustrating. It's made me very sad. I'm not going to participate in Let 'em Dare this month because I'm going to be out of the country next weekend. My plan had been to do a Let 'em Dare next weekend, and I was going to do it as a program, whatever the theme was, doesn't matter. I didn't care what the theme was going to be. I was going to make it work in some fashion or other. It was going to be a program that interacted with Twitch chat in some way. But unfortunately, I'm going to be out of the country next weekend because of work stuff, so we're doing the programming as a tutorial this weekend here instead of making a proper game. Maybe we'll still fit in some sort of actually turning this into an actual game later on. We'll see. So yeah, so really what we're doing is then we're going to register ourselves to these chat message listeners. But we may as well here. Now we've just written the scene. We should be okay. But if this is equal to null, something has gone terribly wrong. Debug.log error. Could not find an instance of, because maybe we forgot to create an object. The other thing we could do with this is we could have we could do public connection manager and then link it in the inspector. But I really like to find things in code because, first of all, it's really easy to forget to link something in the inspector. If things get generated at runtime, then it doesn't link through there anyway, so you still have to find it. So I just like to find it in code. It's just my preferred way of doing it. So yeah, if we don't find it for some reason, then just bail. Something else has gone wrong. This is like you've made a mistake setting up your scene error. This is not something we actually have to like handle gracefully. We have to freak out loudly about it and then bail. And the programmer has to fix something. This will either work or it won't work. It's not like some users. I can't imagine a situation where only some users are having this problem. So yeah, we're going to register ourselves as a listener, and then we'll do a here debug.log. We'll do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to in connection manager. We got a few other. Well, I'll keep that one. Yeah, I'm no longer going to care about unrecognized chat commands because I don't want them cluttering up the log. So we're going to run this and verify that this runs. This should start. It should register as a listener, and so when a username types, it should show up in my log from this over here. Let's find out. Yay! It worked. Cool. So let's make it look cool. So what we're going to do is we are going to game object geo equals instantiate a new copy of falling username prefab. Oh, falling username prefab. I want to variant of this. Yeah, there you go. It takes a position. Quaternion rotation. Yeah. This dot transform dot position. Quaternion dot identity. This dot transform. Okay. So this should make the falling object be a child of us and spawn at our position, which, because I haven't messed with any of the anchor points, it should spawn right there and then start to drop. Now, currently my falling object prefabs don't despawn, so let me go and do a little something like that immediately. Falling username. Now, we could do something really smart where if our position is like low enough, do it. What I might just do is have these things time out on their own. Private. Lifespan equals, I don't know, 5 seconds. Time to delta time. If lifespan is less than 0. Oh. Then destroy game object and return. So after 5 seconds, it just blows itself up and goes away. Excellent. We could have these objects be like physics objects that actually like clump up at the bottom of the screen instead. Which would mean not having them be UI elements. Or they could still be UI elements, but we'd have them render in like world space or something, or I guess we could attach like 2D colliders. 2D colliders should still work in the canvas, won't it? We'd have to resize the 2D colliders to be the extents of the text mesh object, but we can get all that information. It would look fun. Okay, let's just do this. So now these will clean themselves up so we don't end up with an infinitude of those, because we're spawning some. Just work. Yay! Okay, it doesn't have the usernames, which because I forgot about that. So this has got an instance. It's our falling object is a text mesh pro. I always forget this. It's using. Well, you know what? I could probably just do it autocomplete here. TMP. Yeah, so just text mesh pro. If I just do this, action and refactoring. Yeah, I think that looks right. I think that's what we want. We include TMP pro. So T equals GameObject.getComponent. I suppose I could put in children just in case there's some nested stuff going around. GetComponent in children does actually check the parent itself too. So we find the first TextMesh Pro object. We find it in all this. If T is equal to null for some reason, this just means our prefab was not correctly generated. Debug.log error. Falling username prefab has no TextMesh Pro. Well, that'll be good to know in return. But otherwise, t.text is going to be equal to the username. Okay. Oh, there's no TextMesh Pro. It is doing the thing where I forgot about. TextMesh Pro, this is the old one that's not the one built into Unity. It's a different function or a different class or namespace or some damn thing, isn't it? Oh, that's interesting, Cons. I wonder if that will break the text. Might be TextMesh Pro UI. Yeah, Unity text. What the hell is this stupid thing called? So annoying. I run into this every single time we start a new Unity project. I'm like, what do they call the stupid thing? And then you find old documents like, oh, make sure to import the bait. Well, they're already in there. What's that stupid thing called? TMP Pro. TMP underscore text. That's what it is. Copy. Paste. Copy. Oh, I think this website doesn't let you copy. Wow, a coding website that overrides the ability to copy. What kind of trashy trash? Okay, let's try that. We'll try this. Maybe it's GUI. It's TextMesh Pro UGUI. Okay, hold on. If that doesn't work, because can I check it on the object? If I click here, like, can I find out, like, maybe I add a script that script doesn't. Yeah, it brings me to the top of this thing, which isn't Pro UGUI. Hey, hold on. Let's try this. Yeah, it did sound like good King Wenceslas. Oh, hey! There we go! We got usernames! Huzzah! Alright. Yeah, but curious, what did it do with Cons' message? Now, it did correctly just notice the username properly. So it might stop at the first check, but it's a really good question. That is interesting to debug. Yeah, long names get split, but that's just because my falling username prefab is can get tweaked here. So what we do with this prefab is we just make a little bit of work. I guess, hold on, instead of going in there, I'm still not used. Honestly, it's like, even though this has been in Unity for a while, I'm still not used to the whole nested prefab and the editing of things over here. So what we want to do is we want to, well, there's a few different things we can do with it. First of all, I think we should make sure it's centered and aligned this way. And then I think maybe we should auto size it. Right, minimum size, and do this. So very long username would just show up smaller. Or what we'll probably do is set the default, and set the main font size to smaller as well, so it won't change as much. Or, Jesus, what the hell? Oh, Bits, Change Pro, thank you. Oh, is I not finished all the Dyson? Oh, well, I'm sorry about that. I'll take a look at that for sure. I think there's another one I need to make sure is fully uploaded. Check Dyson uploads. Check Dwarf Fortress uploads. I think there's another one I've got to check the VODs for as well. Map cares for Twitch username CSV25. Ah, okay. Yeah, we could standardize on that too. We might want to change fonts as well. We could choose a fixed width font, which would make it a little easier for us to standardize. Plus, it would look very codey. I mean, we just throw in. Well, we'd have to bring it in. But okay, you know what? Let's just call this good enough for all our purposes. Huh. So this is working. You fun with username color? Yeah, we could randomize the color. Now, I assume TextMesh Pro, we can just access vertex color to recolor it. I wonder if that's just accessible. It's color. Random string color. Yeah, that's gonna be fine. Color dot random. Huh. I guess for this, we'd sort of need to know our background color. Oh, well, hold on. If we make sure our text has an outline. Do. I thought they had outline built in. I know we can add it as an extra thing. I'm not going to add an extra component for outlining. But don't you have to get rid of game objects off screen? They automatically build themselves up after 5 seconds in first. So yeah, they do. I mean, I could make it smarter. They could, do a bunch of math to see if they're on screen or not. But yeah, I just have them after 5 seconds, they explode. I don't want you to be rich text. Oh, it's part of the font description itself. Okay. So yeah, we'll give you a black outline. Huh. That's bad. Underlay. Is an underlay like a drop shadow in this context? The thing is, it says outline. I'm not 100% confident it's actually outlining it. Well, I guess it is, but it's overriding some stuff. Okay, this gives it a little bit of a black edge. So if there's a dark edge on this, what we want to do for our random colors is we want to pick anything that's not too dark. Now, I think for... Yeah, bolder font. And that's, we might just take a look at a different font. So I think hue and saturation, we're kind of fine with anything. Is it value that controls the darknessosity? RGB HSV. There you go. We can check. Yeah. Value of 0 is black. Saturation is how much color is in there. I mean, I suppose what I could do is I could go for 100% saturation and just randomize the hue. That might be the most visually interesting. And I think that's probably the reason why if you just pass 2 parameters, it's just tweaking the hue. So the hue can go from 0 to 1. Oh, although... Yeah, there you go. Everything's set to 100%. And then it's going to randomize the hue as we go. But yeah, it does look like kind of ass. Bringing in a new font might be good. I might just very naively give you the doubling of scale. I think that'll look kind of nice if we do that sort of thing. I mean, the purple and blue looks bad, but what we're going to do is we are going to compile this and actually run this as a stream overlay in a second here. Let's give it some random XY motion. So, following username spawner, it's getting the position, but what we want to do is offset this in the X direction. So if I do this dot rect, oh, all right. I guess it doesn't have a short form for that. Rect transform, sorry. Dot bounds, no. Anchor min max. Offset of the lower left hand rectangle relative to the lower left anchor. Oh, check Cookie Monster. Well, how far back am I going to go? Get hash of username instead of random, so single usernames get the same color. That is actually quite cool. So if we map the username to a value of 0 to 1, I don't know if there's a convenient way of doing it. I mean, I could just import like a, I don't know, like an MD5 hashing library. Is there CRC32? Using GitHub value. Getting the list of subscribers would be a different type of API call, I think. I don't think we get subscriber information in just Twitch chat by itself. Anyway, hold on. Unity, rect, transform, width, modify width. How do we get the literal width? Size delta. Or reference.rect.width. Render bounds, which is not what I'm looking for in this case. Probably the thing we want to play with here is the size delta. There might be a better thing to grab the parameter I'm actually looking for, but so we're going to grab a number from negative half width to positive half width. And we're going to add this here. My Twitch chat. Music's a little loud. I think I'm probably over time I'm getting a little quieter is probably what's happening here. There we go. Just a little background noise. Oh. I should probably close this before I recompile, because otherwise it's not going to wanna. I don't think. Wait a minute. Why isn't it wider? It should be using the width of the spawner. I would expect things to be all the way to the outer edge. Oh. Something didn't close right last time. Our on destroy I don't think worked properly here. Oh, is it possible that this isn't returning width not in the same units? That's probably exactly what it's doing. No, it should. Unity rect transform size delta. What is size delta? Size of the rect transform relative to the distances between the anchors. Oh. Anchors are together. Size delta the same size. Anchors are in each of the four corners. Size delta is much bigger. Yeah. Okay. It's looking at the anchor points. Come on. Minus 200. Yeah, so this is not what I'm looking for. Size delta.x is returning as minus 200. So what do I want to use? I probably want to use anchor min, anchor max. Offset min, offset max. Or the dot rect. Calculate a rectangle local space to transform. Yeah, I feel like dot rect dot width is probably what I want to use in this case. There you go, 1080. Well, that's the parent, so it's actually ignoring, because that's where the anchors are. Okay, that's interesting. So the 1080 is the width of the anchors, and the anchors are these points here. So the minus 200 is the distance between the total width of the anchors and the total width of my rect. So we can use that minus 200, but I feel like there's probably some parameter. Oh wait, size delta. That makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. First of all, let's cache our rectangle. Although getComponent has gotten pretty smart about caching. Generally speaking, it's usually doing a good, smart thing in behind the scenes. But let's make sure. There you go. So, because we know this is minus 200, which makes sense because that's the difference between our actual rectangle and our anchors. So we'll do that. Again, there's probably, and someone may have said it in chat, but it goes so fast that it's hard to spot. So this is going to end up being 1080 plus negative 200, which is the correct width that we're looking for in this case. So this is going to end up with the right number. There just might have been a sexier, easier, better way to do it without doing any math in the function. That looks pretty good. Well, it's sort of. The outline still sucks. Let's not deny that. But let's go build and run. Did you not connect? I feel like you didn't. Or the connection here is still weirdly open. I have to attach a debugger over here. Oh, you think it has a different player prefs, maybe? That's possible. Ah! Well, maybe. That might be the case. Is there a quick way to get the debug log from a running program? How to... I mean, obviously I can just attach an actual debugger here. Editor does have its own player prefs. Okay. So, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to showcase the overlay here because I just want to make sure, while I'm literally streaming my desktop, that I don't accidentally... Well, you know, hold on. Hang on. At the end minute. If I go... I'm just going to kill my display capture here. That's what I'm going to do. That way I can type in secret values. Stream incognito mode, yeah. I do this. And then I do this. Okay. Oops. And I come here. Oh, that was the wrong value. That. Run this again. Okay. Grab this. Do that. No. Okay, almost there. Then build and run. No, it's not there. I wonder if there's a chance just the Windows firewall not working. That's weird. This should work. I'm wondering if it's just being blocked. I'm not getting a pop-up about the firewall. The problem is if I open this up in a debugger, then I could accidentally like click on like the variable to and reveal some stuff that shouldn't be revealed. Where's my Twitch chat? I'm kind of concerned about that. Let me just make sure a little demo project in the editor is still working. I haven't borked that. Yeah, that's still working. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know why it's not working the other thing, and I would like to answer that, but I feel like I can't do that without maybe accidentally sending some, like, one of the, like, the secret login infos and stuff like that shouldn't be there. Yeah, another Twitch account might be a thing, although then, you know, people could still do wonky things with that. Or with the dummy value. I suppose, although I loaded some in. So what I tried to do is I went and I put in the client ID and the token over here to try to save it in the, like, the executable. So I ran it with this, hoping that it would set those and then would start working, but it didn't. So there's something else going on, unfortunately, in the standalone version. But I don't feel comfortable going through the process of debugging that here. But we did confirm earlier that the screen overlay things do work. That was very simple to do, and we are capturing the code here. Obviously, we'd want to do a bunch of work with what the font looks like, and you do something more interesting with it, right? And we're not doing anything with the message either, but it would be very easy for us to simply listen to check the message and do something like that. Like, did the message start with exclamation mark chocolate, and do something fun with it. He says you can see the debug with Control-Shift-C windows. Should open the console window. Yeah, but I think it's this console window. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but... But yeah, and then what do we do? Do we do something where over a period of 5 minutes, we capture, you know, each unique username that has been used in chat, and then start an on-screen little battle royale. Split everyone into teams and then just bash each other, and then last person standing wins. You know, they get a little hooray. And so every 5 minutes, there's just some random event that happens as part of our stream overlay. You know, that would be kind of cool. And ban the loser. Oh, that's funny. That is really funny. Well, that's why you would do it, so that it only cares about each unique username, right? So typing multiple times would make no difference. Instead, it would just be if you've typed once, that's all it takes. One thing we could do with the chatbot is it could send you a whisper. Once it's seen you, it could be like, oh, I acknowledge that you were in here. You know, you've been loaded into the system or something, so you know that it's happened. And you can still type if you want. You don't have to type test, you can test whatever. Yeah, literally anything anyone typed was resulting in the username showing up on screen here. It didn't matter what you typed. So the only thing, unfortunately, that I didn't get is, for whatever reason, this wasn't working in the standalone version, even though we had everything else. And yeah, I would just do some off-screen debugging, which is probably exactly what I'm going to do as soon as the stream is over here. I'll figure out what it is, and then I'll do a post about it to see what the deal is. I'm actually surprised. Normally, when a program on your computer tries to access the network for the first time, we get the Windows firewall pop-up, right? Except I didn't get a Windows firewall pop-up at all. Is it just only for servers? Oh, it's only if it's got a port listener. Oh, okay. Because I thought maybe it's just getting blocked too early. Maybe allowed ones, Unity once a long time ago. Yeah, but I'm sort of wondering about the .exe. I'm like, oh, I was expecting as soon as we ran the .exe that it would pop that up for the first time, but perhaps that's not the case. Make the color same as username on Twitch. Yeah, I wonder how you get that. That's probably part of the API. Now, part of me is wondering if we did the implementation through WebSocket instead of IRC, if perhaps there would be, if we could get more information that way. I don't know. Color might be part of the message chunk. I don't think so, but maybe. And info like colors, badges, etc. if you enable the capacity via IRC. That might be an interesting thing, because we can, in fact, we can put in some requests when we connect. There may be some extra details we can get as part of that. Mods could be bosses with more health. Yeah. Everyone has to gang up to defeat the mighty Moobot. See, what would be bad for spam is if it was some sort of system where the more you talk, the more powerful your character was. Like, that would be a terrible idea, obviously. Although it'd be great for engagement. I think you'd want to stay away from anything like that. Super bold font mods, yeah. And yeah, I'd want to import like a better font and also figure out a better way to highlight. Part of it is, you know, the color of whatever we're playing on is potentially going to be a problem, which is why it needs an outline, right? Because if one of the usernames shows up as yellow, but it's in front of yellow background, you won't see it. So it needs an outline that is different from everything else. Non-subscribers get Comic Sans Sarah's font. And then we could also blacklist Moobot, right? We just have a list of blacklists in general. I mean, ideally, I'd probably want some sort of in my app. What I'd probably want. So for this app, what I would want is I would want the main game window, which OBS should be capturing. And in addition to that, I'd want a separate window where I could control things, like blacklist things or whatever. Which, I mean, in a setting, in a world where this needs to be a little bit more intense, possibly the best way to implement this is, in fact, not running within Unity natively itself, but in fact just as a website service, and then, you know, Unity could go and interact with that as an in-between layer. And the advantage to that is then we could use different authentication styles as well, and make some of the work a little bit simpler. You know, Unity would simply get some data from, you know, quill18.com/awesomechat or something like that. And the quill18.com/awesomechat would be responsible for doing all the authentication, everything. And the advantage to that is the Unity EXE wouldn't have to have any authentication stuff built into it at all. It would be easy to distribute and share because all it's doing is connecting to the website. Private message is the color tag, the color of the username in the chat room. Does it? You know, if I look at... The bot requested tag capabilities. The following example shows what private message looks like when it includes tags. Oh, okay. How do I ask for tag capabilities? Is it when I connect? Oh, that's what all the ats are. So if we look at our connection manager here, right? So this processes, yeah, tags with the ats. Does it store those or just ignoring them? Oh, yeah. So right now, this code is ignoring the tags. But that's what it would be. All the tags have these at symbols. So it's at the name of the tag equals some value. That includes color information, apparently. So we would ask for those capabilities, and then here, what we do is we'd probably generate a dictionary of the tag, like tag value pairs, as a dictionary, pass that back over here, and have the option of doing something with it. In which case, yeah, it would use the information, which is kind of cool. I don't know if you ask for the, I think you ask for it when you connect to the IRC. Some things you ask for when you authenticate to the application, which is this line over here. The application at this point is when you ask what you want. So this is chat read, chat edit? I guess chat edit must be the equivalent of chat send, or maybe I'm asking for the wrong permissions there, and I'll have to double check that. But yeah, your app can ask for whatever it wants. Here, my app is only interested in, when I'm doing requests, I'm only asking for the ability to read and write to chat. You know, I don't need to see your email address or anything, you know, but we could add those things in for whatever reason we might want to. So I don't know if the chat tag is part of that. I suspect, and I didn't actually find it in the doc, but I suspect it's an extra command here is what you send for the capabilities. RC tags. Requesting Twitch specific capabilities. Cap. Ah, that's what it is. So yeah, it's another line that looks like this. Cap request. Twitch.tv/tags is what it looks like. Ugh. I'll do the American way. Just because that's how code is usually written. Oh, right, of course. I changed the code so things recompiled while the program was running, so everything got nulled out and became invalid. Okay, well, that's quite cool. And yeah, these tags should include subscriber badges, and whether someone is a moderator, which is neat information. I believe there's also a way, so in here we're going to get the emoticons, as plain text, right? You're just going to see the word kappa because we're getting the raw text. But I believe one of the requests you can get, yeah, emote sets. I think with the tags, actually, what it'll do, it'll include the emotes that are used. Yeah. I think by ID. So your app would still have to go and access the emotes through some sort of API request or something like that and have them cached by ID. But then you could have it so that instead of showing people's usernames, what it does is if you use an emote, then it throws the emote up on the screen. A VIP too? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so all those types of things. So I think there's a lot of funky stuff we could do with this. With emotes, let's change it, but you have to look up the emotes. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. That's what I think it is. I think we get the emote ID, but we have to use a different thing to get a reference to the emote, and then like download the images, and then throw those images up on the screen as sprites. Confirm, just see the emoji words in my IRC client. Yeah. Well, I think this might bring us to the end of today's project. I'm sorry I couldn't show like the final form with the overlay. Because again, the overlay clearly works, right? If I do... And you know what? Let me make my my rotate script on here. Probably works. Oh yeah, you get the same font, so you get the same really shitty outlining that is happening here. Oh yeah, and you're not center pivoted because you need to be set to center middle. There we go. So I just test to make sure it works. Whee. All right, so there, if I go and do a build and run, again, the for some reason it doesn't do the Twitch Connect. in the standalone client right now. I'll just have to check on that. But there you go. Easy. I couldn't believe at the start of the stream, right? I showed it off. It was like 45 seconds. Here's how you do a transparent thing and have it work in OBS as an overlay. That was shockingly easy. Oh, wait. It is working. We're getting the username drops. I'm wondering... Connection manager. You know what I bet? Well, I'm not doing act as singleton. Is onDestroy not running? For some reason? Are we not actually disconnecting? Because I'm wondering if there was a lingering connection. That was never closing right. And it was blocking me from connecting on the other side. Yeah, well, logging and debugging. I just didn't want to debug the standalone client because I was worried it might accidentally leak something. Now it's not working. Do I just have to run this like a few times? Let's give it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It took a minute last time. Oh, maybe there's just the amount of time it takes for it to connect. It's weird that it was running instantly for the other. Let's give it a minute. Yeah, sure. How's it going, everyone? Yay! Hold on. Okay, I can go and hide this window. Hey! Well, guys, I'm happy that I apparently knew what I was doing. I still don't know why it wasn't working right away, but I guess I just had to be more patient. Because it does seem to connect instantly in the client, but maybe it's got to load more stuff. Woo! All right, we're done. I will go and push this code over to the GitHub if you want to take a look at this. But I mean, because at this point, you've got the data. You can do anything you want with this. I'm ignoring the chat messages, right? But we could, instead of having falling usernames, we could have falling chat messages, which sounds like a terrible idea. But yeah, I mean, you can use this to drive any kind of behavior you want in your game. And again, if you listen specifically for command, if you look for, if you check the message over in this part of the code, right? Our falling usernames here. There's no reason I couldn't, when we have a chat message listener, is I could check to see if the message is got, the magic command word, ! Brussels sprouts, and then use that to drive some sort of logic, or whatever the heck I want to do with this. This is great. It's a lot of work for Quilly Team to build a pun scrapping tool from chat. Yeah, ! Petra. Yeah, exactly. We'll do something. Yeah. ! Whiskey, ! Chocolate. We can have competing things, because these could all exist. Right now, all we're doing is looking at that there's a username and then having it spawn some stuff on screen. But, I'm very excited. I wonder why it's got such a long startup in the standalone version. I don't know. I guess it's all good. Twitch plays Pokemon Red Quilly Teen Edition forthcoming. And that's it. Right? If we had these listen to commands like up, down, left, right, A, B, select, and start, then we could have our own little Twitch plays mechanic for stuff. Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy. But like I said, this goes to show you, especially Paradox. Paradox, I'm looking at you. Where's my Crusader Kings 3 Twitch chat integration? So I can vote and have my rulers make stupid decisions based on what Twitch chat says. The Twitch chat dynasty is waiting. And I don't know, maybe you can make a mod for CK3 that connects to the network. I'm actually not sure what kind of restrictions the workshop and things might have. Maybe it's something we could do. I don't know. So I'm not gonna. Twitch integration next Ludum Dare. Well, Alan, that was exactly what was supposed to happen. Next weekend is Ludum Dare. My Ludum Dare game was going to have Twitch integration in it, but unfortunately, I'm going to be away. Maybe the next Ludum Dare, maybe we do that because it would be very entertaining. Spend amidst cause events in CK3. See, I wasn't even thinking of that, right? Because that all of a sudden you're asking for more work. Like a little bit more, because there's logic and the balance and this and this and this. I mean, all of it's work really, but all I want is when there's a dialogue that pops up, there's some sort of event in CK3, I want Twitch chat to be able to vote on which button we click. That's my dream right there. Maybe one day. Folks, we're going to wrap it up. I think, so tomorrow is Monday. Normally we stream on Mondays. I think I'm going to take Monday off because we did do the bonus stream today. I got a heck of a busy week this week. There's some extra sponsored stuff I got to record as well. Thursday, so there's no stream on Wednesday. There wasn't going to be one this week. Instead, there's a Thursday stream. Thursday is more Age of Wonders 4. We're going to be starting at noon Eastern time, which is the same time we normally start our Saturday streams. The next game, let's see if it's been... I'm probably asking too much from Essentia here, but out of curiosity. Well, there's info in there, and the next stream will have a countdown. So my next stream will be Thursday, starting at noon Eastern time. We're going to be continuing our sponsored pre-release stream of Age of Wonders 4. And that very same day, like an hour after I'm done that stream on Thursday, I'm flying to the UK. This week, actually the next couple weeks, is going to be so stupid. So yeah, I'm going to take Monday off. And I will see you guys on Thursday this week for more Age of Wonders 4. Thanks to everyone who came out. Oh, you were mid-update. Of course you were, Centra. I knew you were on top of it. I'm like, I'm probably doing it too fast. But I'll see everyone on Thursday. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.